Welcome, guys, gals, and non binary pals. Grab a snack and get comfy for another conversation about Dead by Daylight. Let's talk lore, specifically the first DLC survivor, Nea Karlsson. She was released in Chapter 1, The Last Breath, on August 18th, 2016. She's a character with not a lot of official backstory, but a lot of fun fan-based lore around her. And while that might not seem very interesting, I'm here to tell you that isn't the case. For those who don't know, Nea is a troublemaker with a particular interest in tagging and skateboarding. However, that isn't all I want to talk about. Today, I'm going to cover who Nea is, her motivations, the fan-derived lore surrounding her, and what I think about her as a whole. So let's get into it. Nea is originally from Sweden. When Nea was in her early teens, her parents thought that she lacked the thing that makes everyone normal. There's nothing to show that Nea was anything other than normal, though. I see this as Nea's parents not knowing how to wade through the teenage hormones and alternative fashion, and basically threw a very mild declaration of satanic panic at Nea. Oh, our child is dressing in dark colors and wearing flannel? She must be a freak. There's literally no reason that we know of for Nea's parents to think that she isn't normal. It's just such a weird thing for parents to agree on, but I'm getting sidetracked. Nea and her parents immigrated to the United States when she was 16. The giant move resulted in Nea acting out. She started to stay out later than her parents wanted, she started tagging, and her parents couldn't understand why. They seemed to have lacked any critical thinking skills and just completely forgot they moved to a completely new country. This would be a huge transition for anyone, let alone a moody teenager who just lost all their friends and daily routine. But somehow that just completely slipped their minds. Nea dyed her hair black and cut it just how she wanted. She had at least made one friend here, Casey. They both live in Falls City. This place is corrupted with politicians and bureaucrats poisoning the world, making more money than they can print, and dumping it all into the Narrows, the poorest and most polluted district in the Falls City. Every single paper mill, car factory, toxic waste facility, you name it, were dumping their waste in the land and water surrounding it. Casey cared about this, but Nea didn't. Not anymore. Nea went looking for her one day and wasn't able to find her at their normal meetup at Falls City Park. Nea went to her house and talked with Casey's mom, who told Nea that she's probably in the Narrows handing out water bottles. Nea did try to go find her, but only with the hope of finding a good place to tag. She just didn't care anymore. It was easier not to. Nea eventually got dared by some friends to go tag the old asylum. Of course, Nea was up for the job. This was going to be easy. There was nothing Nea was better at than graffiti. She confidently went to the asylum that night, spray cans in a bag hung off her shoulder, and her mask secured on her face. Nea threw her sack over the fence surrounding the property and followed after it. When Nea's feet hit the ground, she was already getting excited. She knew exactly where she wanted to do this. She made her way there, being careful to stay in the shadows just as a precaution. Nea found the big white brick wall that faced the woods. There were some plants that had crawled up the wall, but she easily ripped them down. Nea got to work. Hours passed, and Nea was entirely consumed by her work. She didn't even notice when a black fog started to lick at her ankles. It wasn't long before she was swallowed whole by the entity, never to be seen again. Now, Nea is obviously someone who is struggling a lot mentally, and was emotionally neglected by her parents to a degree. However, I don't think any of that could even justify how people in the community deemed her the entity. You heard me right. When Nea was first released, there was a joke that Nea was the entity. Now, it wasn't exactly a good reason for this belief. It was because her old character model was ugly. This in and of itself is pretty gross to me. It's very surface level, it's very upsetting to people who might look like Nea, it's just not nice. So you may be thinking, why are you telling us this then? If you don't like it, why did you even bring it up? I bring it up because I find the concept that a survivor could be the entity very, very intriguing. Someone on both sides. Nea obviously goes through the same things that other survivors go through. So if Nea was the entity, what would she be getting out of being a survivor as well? This is obviously all theoretical and not at all rooted in anything. This is just me exploring this train of thought. We can even remove Nea from this completely and just think of a survivor as the entity, point blank. The entity wants the sacrifices that the killers give by hooking survivors. It brings in killers and survivors as a means of getting this. Now, if a survivor was the entity, it could be argued that posing as a survivor could ensure that nothing goes wrong on either end. The entity would have an easy in with the killers just by being the entity, and it could blend in with the survivors to be able to make sure that everything was working to plan. Their memories were being wiped correctly and everything was staying exactly how the entity had wanted. However, there could be a flaw with this theory. The entity is all-knowing, or I would assume it's a thing that surrounds the fog and the realm. Sure, it can manifest as the spider-like black claws that surround the hooks and windows, but I think it's probably just all around. So wouldn't it just be able to know what everyone is talking about? Probably, but there could also be a sick, twisted enjoyment it gets out of messing with the survivors' heads at that level, being intertwined with them, going through the horrors with them, just to get enjoyment from it all. I just think it's an interesting idea, and Nea felt like the perfect person to start to explore that more. I don't want to deviate so far away from Nea, but I wanted to skim the surface. Overall, Nea is someone who struggled through her childhood. Nea reminds me of my own struggles, a teenager who is probably depressed and hormonal and struggling to fit in or find their place. Being ripped out of the home she knew and going to a completely different country where she didn't know anyone. Parents who just couldn't be bothered to understand their own kid, who just wrote her off as weird and didn't bother trying to be the emotional support Nea needed. All of that together couldn't have been easy, and it's very simple to see why Nea started to act out. She's an amalgamation of everything that happened in the very short amount of time, relative to a whole lifetime, that she had to live before coming to the realm. And now, Nea will never be able to heal from the things that she went through. She's stuck in with the entity in an eternal cycle of torment. Maybe one day the entity will grab a therapist. It sure would help a lot of survivors. Anyways, that about wraps up what I wanted to say about Nea. I'm planning on doing Laurie next. I hope to see you all there. If you liked the video, please leave a like or a comment and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. This is Paper Eels, signing off.